These are the Rough Country N3 loaded front struts, and they're available for all 2014 and newer four-wheel drive F-150s equipped with a 3-inch lift. Now you guys should be considering the Rough Country options here for your F-150 if you're looking for a turnkey, ready-to-install package that will level your rig the proper way, ditching the strut spacer and improving ride quality while also making room for a set of 35s in the process. So big features to consider here will be the complete ready-to-install package that will replace your stock high-mileage front strut and spacer combo with a brand new combination that will ultimately make room for a larger wheel and tire setup. In this case, I would say a 35-1250 without trimming depending on your offset. Obviously, the closer you go to stock, the better off you will be. Now, this ability to run a larger tire is made possible by the Rough Country kit that does raise the front end 3 inches, making for a more aggressive stance and improving your ground clearance in the process. Now, as an added bonus, by upgrading both the front suspension with a more performance-oriented design, the ride quality and handling will improve both on and off-road. And that is one of the biggies I noticed in the customer review section. A lot of guys were making the switch from a big puck-style spacer on the top of their factory strut. And by switching to this, you're getting full travel of that front suspension in addition to a much better ride quality. Now, I do want to point out the fact that Rough Country does mention interested F-150 owners should only consider these options here if you've already lifted your truck 3 inches and are looking to replace a factory strut and spacer combo. Now, moving into construction, and the Rough Country strut and spring combo here will feature a pair of nitrogen charged shocks with a durable monotube design and a 1 3/8 inch bore size. Now, I like the monotube dampers for off-road use as they will offer more consistent performance without as much cavitation found with a more cheap twin tube design. Now, from there, the Rough Country offerings also include brand new springs and top mounts. They're already assembled right out of the box, in addition to brand new hardened rubber bushings here that won't flex as much, which will increase that off-road performance in addition. Now, finally, guys, the struts are finished off in a silver powder coat to keep things looking good for years to come, and they are backed by a 3-year warranty in case you run into any issues. Coming in around $400, the Rough Country loaded lift struts here will be right in the middle of the road between using a strut spacer or something similar on the lower end of the price spectrum and a full-blown adjustable coilover that will typically round out the higher end of that pricing spectrum. Now, that being said, there are a few different lift struts or assembled struts such as this available for F-150 owners out there from different manufacturers, including other Rough Country options, in addition to a few Rancho options as well. So regardless, definitely check out our category page for things like this, as we have a ton of different options for F-150 owners of every budget. All right, last but not least, moving into the installation, and the site's gonna call this a strong 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you a couple of hours to get in place from start to finish. Now, I will say one of the nice things about going with a kit such as the Rough Country here is that everything is pre-assembled for you. You're simply removing your stock strut assembly and reinstalling the Rough Country in reverse order. There's no need to mess with any spring compressors or anything like that. But now, to give you a better idea of how this one might go down in the garage or driveway at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
For this install, you will need various impacts, a swivel adapter, 8, 10, 18, 19, 21, and 22 millimeter sockets, 15 and 18 millimeter ratcheting wrenches, a 21 millimeter wrench, a bungee cord, a pry bar, a hammer, or a ball joint service tool. Also not shown here is the jack and jack stands. All right, today we're going to be installing a lift kit on our F-150, so let's get started. All right, so we've got the truck in the air, we've got the wheels off. The first thing we're going to do is remove our tie rod from our knuckle. We've got our 21 millimeter socket on our impact. We're going to remove this nut. Now we'll leave it on a couple threads to catch it because we're going to have to separate it. Now, to separate this, you can use a ball joint removal tool, or if you don't have that, you can grab a hammer and you can give it some slight taps on the knuckle, or see if it'll just gently come out, like so. Once it's unseated, we'll remove the nut fully. Pop this out. We'll just put that nut right back on there. Just keep track of it. Next, what we're going to do is remove our ABS and brake line brackets from our knuckle and the frame bracket up here. This is going to prevent excess tension from our lines when we separate our knuckle from our upper control arm. So we've got our 8mm socket for our ABS line, and then we'll use our 10mm sockets for our two 10mm bolts holding those brackets in. That off. Now we'll grab our 10mm socket. That one out, as well as this one. Now we're going to remove our sway bar end link nut going through our lower control arm. So we've got our 18mm socket. Pop that off. Next, we're going to remove our two lower strut mounting nuts. Now, doing this at home from the factory, you should have studs going through your strut with 18mm nuts. However, due to many previous installs, ours have been pressed out, so we have through bolts. So we're going to use our 21mm wrench and our 22mm socket. We'll get our other one out as well. Now we're going to need to separate our upper ball joint from our knuckle. Before we do that, we're going to grab a bungee cord and wrap it around the top of our knuckle. That's going to prevent this from coming down and causing excess tension on our axle and pulling that out. We don't want that. You want to make sure you're not going to pinch any lines hooking this in. That'll be there to catch it. Then we're going to use our 18mm socket and swivel adapter to get our nut off. And just like with our tie rod, we're going to leave this on a few threads. Sometimes you get lucky and that pops right out. Now we can fully remove our nut and lay our knuckle to the side. Now, if it is under a little bit of tension, you can grab an 18mm ratcheting wrench. Don't want to let it fall freely. And now we have our nut loose. As you can see, our control arm is popped up. Just going to push this up, let our knuckle rest to the side. Now we're going to loosen up and remove our three upper strut mounting nuts, and we're going to grab our 15mm ratcheting wrench to do that. Now once you get this last one all the way out, we're going to support our strut, remove that, and then we can pull our strut out. So we'll lift up on our strut, get our nut off, and remove our strut. Now once you got this side out, you can do the same thing for the other side. All right, now we're going to begin installing our new strut. So we're going to line up our upper mounting studs through our factory perch. We're going to grab one of our supplied lock flange nuts and get that in place to hold it, and then we'll get everything else in. Now obviously this strut is a bit taller, so we're going to have to persuade it through into our control arm mount. Now you want to be gentle with this. You don't want to disturb or damage your axle in the process. Now we'll get our other two upper mounting nuts in place. And we're just loosely installing these for now. Now we're going to line up our lower mounting perch, and we're going to grab our supplied mounting hardware. We're going to get these through. It'll be a little bit tight going through. Now we've got our first one dropped through. Grab our second one, that one in as well. Now that we have our bolts through, we're going to get our flat washers and lock nuts on the bottom side. And we'll grab our 18mm wrench and 19mm socket to tighten these down. Now we'll get our upper ball joint back into our knuckle. So we've got our knuckle swung over. We did pop our bungee cord off. Get this in position. Now because of the new height, we may need a pry bar to pull down on our control arm enough to get it in position. I'm going to use my pry bar. Pull down on my control arm, get our nut in. Now we'll bring back our 18mm socket and swivel adapter and tighten down our ball joint nut. Now we'll get our tie rod back into place. Take that nut back off. Line this back up. Get our nut back in place. Grab our 21mm socket and tighten this down. Next we can tighten down our upper strut mounting nuts. Get those all spun down by hand. And we'll grab our 15mm ratcheting wrench, tighten these up. Next, we'll get our ABS and brake line brackets back into place. So we've got our two 10mm and our 8mm. We'll grab our 10mm socket first. Get this one lined back up. Grab our other 10mm. Get our brake line bracket in. And we'll use our 8mm socket to get our ABS bracket back in. Now once you got everything done up to this point, you can repeat the entire process on the other side. Then we'll come back and reinstall our sway bar end link nut. Get our 18mm nut in, 18mm socket. Now once you got this side on, you can repeat everything on the other side. Also, you want to remember to torque your hardware down to the manufacturer recommended specifications, and also definitely want to get an alignment after this is done. Alrighty, that about wraps up our review and install of our Rough Country Suspension N3 loaded front struts for 3-inch lift on your 14 to the newer 4-wheel drive F-150, excluding the Raptor. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.